Welcome. I'm Tamara Long, Vice President for Enrollment here at ACU. We are so excited to have you join us today for our virtual visit with the Department of Bible Missions and Ministry. We have a great time planned today with two fantastic individuals. First, right over here to your left, we have Chelsea Flow, a vocational ministry major from Amarillo, Texas. And then right over here to your right, we have Robert Oglesby, who is the director for our Center for Youth and Family Ministry. So our time with you today is going to be special, and hopefully we're going to be able to answer a lot of your questions. Please put them in on the chat bar, text them. We want to answer your questions, and we want to help you better get to know about the Department of Bible Missions and Ministry here at ACU. So first, I'm going to ask our student Chelsea, because I know that you families and students want to hear from students, about why you chose ACU, but also why did you choose to go into a vocational ministry major?
Well, ACU was kind of an easy option for me. I knew I wanted to go to a Christian school. I was really excited by the opportunity to take Bible classes and just kind of be in an environment like this. And I think just stepping on campus and meeting people was what convinced me to come here. I loved just meeting professors and how kind and just genuinely welcoming and overabundantly kind the students were too. I was a small senior in high school, and they had no reason to talk to me, but there were several people who just really made the difference for me. As far as doing ministry, I actually came in undeclared. I was undeclared for an entire year, which was not my parents' favorite course of action. But honestly, just taking Bible classes, taking the introductory first and second semester of New Testament just really showed me how much I enjoyed learning about the Bible, learning about ministry, and I think, again, being around the people in this department, including Dr. Oglesby over here, really convinced me this is what I wanted to spend my time doing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It is always a little unnerving, I think, for parents when their students begin their college journey not knowing. But I would also argue that some of you parents, I know I can relate, we don't all always know what we want to be when we grow up when we're in our 40s. And so that's a lot of what college is about. So ACU being a liberal arts university, you're going to be exposed to a lot. And uniquely, Bible courses are a part of our curriculum, which, as Chelsea said, was a part of how she found herself realizing that this was a career path that she wanted to pursue. So next I'm going to ask Robert to share with us a little bit about the department, the majors that are offered here within the department at ACU.
Okay. There are two primary sets of majors. The first set of majors are called the Bible and Ministry degrees, and those are language majors, text majors, missions majors, and ministry majors. And what you'll find with these are students who either plan to be professors possibly in a university, or possibly a senior pastor at a church, or be in charge of a mission society. So these particular degrees help you get to that stage where you're prepared and ready to go on to grad school or work in a large organization. The second is the Ministry and Vocation section, which are things like children's ministry majors, worship ministry majors, missionaries in the field, and youth and family ministry majors, which is near and dear to my heart because that's what I teach. And I believe, of course, that to reach the next generation is extremely important for the church. So you have those different sets to help you reach some of the goals and individual career paths you want to go to. Also, Tamara, there is a degree called the integrated degree plan, where you can start with a Bachelor's of Arts in one of these majors and fast track into a integrated degree where you actually get a graduate degree in one less year. So you can get a bachelor's degree plus an MDiv, which would usually be 7 years worth of schooling. You can do it in 6, or do a Bachelor of Arts and a master's in Christian ministry, which usually would take 6, but we can do that in 5. So you walk out of ACU with 2 degrees under your belt.
That is awesome, and that is fantastic. I know it can sound a little daunting to think 7 years of school, but at the same time, the ability to continue your education here and even begin those graduate programs early during your undergrad times is really an advantage of our students and their opportunities. Chelsea, do you mind telling us a little bit about your favorite class so far in the department as a major?
I know you said favorite, and that meant one, but I actually had two so far. My first was actually Old Testament, which for a lot of majors or anyone really who takes it, it's kind of a mixed basket, but it was taught by Dr. Rodney Ashlock, who is just the most inviting, personable professor. He really took the time to not only share the information and teach us about the Old Testament, which even for Bible majors, even for people who have grown up in the church, is not something we always come in with a lot of information about. He also told the stories to us. We had one day where he was telling us the story of Esther, and the class ended, it was time to go, we all needed to go to lunch, and no one moved. He had the rest of the story left, and we were going to hear it. So that was definitely one of my favorites. And then my other favorite was preaching, taught by Randy Harris, who just recently retired, but is still, I think, going to be around. He is a phenomenal influence, a phenomenal mentor and encourager, and just learning about the preaching process, learning how to communicate God's word to his people was just such an incredible experience.
No, that's awesome. Thank you, Chelsea. Got some good questions coming in and many to answer still. So, Robert, I'm going to ask you to answer this one here, and that is ACU's denominational affiliation. So I'll start with ACU's denominational affiliation. Our heritage is in the Churches of Christ, and I'll tell you, students come to us from all over the world, all over the country, all over Texas, from many different faith backgrounds, but what unifies us is our belief in Jesus Christ. But I'm going to let Robert talk a little bit more about denominational affiliation, especially as a ministry and Bible major here at ACU.
Right. One of the great things is that we do have a lot of people coming from church at different angles. And we begin to learn from each other, even inside our own Bible classes, where we can say, tell me about what your experience is, or tell me about your experience. And we all begin to learn together. The thing I want you to know and understand is, if you want to study the Bible and try to truly search for the mind of God, this is your place. We love the Bible, we love to study it and study it deeply, and we don't always agree about everything, but we sure love to explore it together with you. And you will hopefully, by the end of 4 years, you will look more like Jesus at the end of those 4 years. And we expect that from you. We hope you'll grow immensely from your time here.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Robert. This next one's for you, Chelsea. If you could help our guests kind of know what it's like to be involved as a student in ministry while you are a student. If you could just talk about some of the things that you've been involved in, both in the department and outside of the department.
Well, I will say ACU provides limitless opportunities for not just Bible majors, any major to get involved spiritually. Obviously, you've, I'm sure, heard of chapel and the opportunities there. But beyond that, I think there's opportunities within the churches around Abilene. Almost all of them have a great college program, just really phenomenal ministers involved in that. And they, in turn, try to empower us. So the ministries are, of course, run by the ministers, but they create so many opportunities and positions for students to get involved and to kind of dip your toe in the water of ministry. Within the department, I personally have done missions. So I did a stint with Worldwide Witness, which offers both summer-long programs and shorter-term projects. And so that is a way that a lot of people have gotten involved. And that was, again, one of those stepping stones that really helped me discover that ministry is what I wanted to do. And I think beyond that, just the departmental chapel is not only a great way to grow spiritually, but also to just become more familiar with the people in the department. I think one of our greatest resources here is the professors themselves. They are so open, so willing to have students come by, regardless of if you had them in class. They're just phenomenal. And I think especially, well, not especially, but including our GST professors, who a lot of us undergrads don't necessarily think we have access to. We have incredible minds here, and they are all just so sweet and so willing to minister to students.
Yeah, so at the heart of ACU, and GST stands for our Graduate School of Theology, also known as seminary at other institutions. We have some amazing faculty, and I will tell you at the heart of ACU is our faculty and their love and care for our students. They want to walk alongside our students. They want to invite them into their homes, invite them alongside them in research. ACU is very much a teaching-focused university at the undergraduate level. Something, Chelsea, you said that I would like you to maybe answer a little bit more, and that is about Worldwide Witness. If you could share your experience with Worldwide Witness, where you went, what that looked like. Just talk a little bit about that for us.
So I kind of decided to do it on a whim. I didn't have summer plans, so I was like, great, I will sign up. It will be an easy check off the college bucket list, and I'll be done with ministry forever. But I ended up going through an organization called Josiah Venture. I went to Bulgaria, and actually, normally they pair people up to go, but in this case, I actually went by myself, and I was placed on a team of 5 individuals, 2 of whom were native Bulgarians, and then the other 3 who were from various parts of the US. And through that experience, I not only did like kind of summer camps and different like youth group activities with students in Bulgaria, I also just got to be involved in the local church. I got to take the time to try to learn their language, to learn how they worship Jesus. And I think through that experience, it taught me not only that ministry is so much bigger than what we do here in the US, but also that the things that I grew up accustomed to, the kind of flat and one-dimensional version of Christianity, is not necessarily the whole picture.
Oh, it's awesome. That's fantastic. So definitely we care a lot about sending our students into the mission field and view, regardless of your major, want to be equipping our students to view their vocation as a ministry. But I think the Bible department is uniquely preparing our young men and women to go into all types of ministry. And a question that's come in a couple of times, one from a Kara from Mansfield. So hi there, Kara. And a few others have had questions about how they find their placement in jobs and opportunities. So Robert, this one's for you. I think there's some really unique opportunities that our Bible department provides students to allow them the ability to be placed appropriately. So can you just talk about how that works across ministries? Sure.
One of the great things is part of your degree plan here at ACU is to actually do an internship before you ever leave school. And we suggest doing several of those while you're here in school. And here's the cool thing. These churches will come here on one day in November, interview you in one day, and usually by that Thursday of that same week, you will have a job for the coming summer, which also helps you start becoming what we call socialized into the profession of ministry. You'll start getting to know some of the people you're going to work beside years from now, right here on this ACU campus. And I can't tell you how many times, Tamara, we have seen students who went as an intern to work with a church who actually was hired by that same church about 3 or 4 years later when they had a ministry opening. And the other great thing is we actually have a group that meets every 2 weeks, and we try to help our graduates as they leave school get placed in their first position. And we don't see you at the graduation stage and wave to you and say, hope you have a good life. We want to make sure you are hired and you're doing well, and we don't turn loose of you at graduation. You are someone we've invested in and we love, and you've got to know us, we've got to know you, and we are going to be there to help you in any possible way long after you've left this campus.
Thank you, Robert. No, that's awesome. That is fantastic to hear from. Another couple of questions have come in about international opportunities. And Chelsea, I know you've studied abroad. So if you can talk a little bit about your study abroad opportunity. You just talked about Worldwide Witness, which is a fantastic way to see this world and spread the news of the gospel. But studying abroad is another way that our students get to experience other cultures and live immersed in another place for a long or short semester. So Chelsea, if you mind just sharing a little bit about that.
Sure. So I studied abroad 2 falls ago in Oxford, and it was such a credible experience. I went because there is a C.S. Lewis class there, and I love C.S. Lewis, and we got to visit his home and his church and his graveside, and it was just the most incredible experience. And that class was actually taught by a professor who teaches at Oxford, so that was kind of a fun thing to be able to say. But the cool thing about study abroad is that you are earning credit. You're still enrolled in classes here at ACU and taught by professors here. But there's also so much time to be able to travel and explore and go out on your own. We had several weekends that were 3 or 4 day weekends where we just got to have free travel. But even if we were in classes through Friday, we were able to kind of plan, 1 or 2 day trips, because especially in England, I feel like that is just really close to a lot of surrounding countries and areas that are really unique to travel to.
That's awesome. No, thank you. There's also a question about international student ministry. So ACU has an International Students Association. We have multiple multicultural student associations for students to be a part of, in addition to the Worldwide Witness and the travel. So there's lots of ways to find your place, to belong, and to be involved and be a part of ministries. These next two questions are for Robert, and I'm going to pair them together because I think it'll allow for you to answer them well. One question is about being a Bible major and a music major with an interest to go into worship ministry, very popular. And another is about starting your own ministry. Is Christian ministry the right major? So if you don't mind answering those, Robert.
Absolutely. First of all, the Christian ministry coupled with music here on campus, our degree is actually a combination of the music department and our ministry department together. We actually saw this need and we said, we've got to create something that will allow them to have the great talents of the music department and put that with some theology from the ministry department together. And so that is a degree I think you can look over and say, boy, that meets a lot of different things that we're looking for, which is a wonderful thing. And the question about starting your own ministry, there are people who have come here to this campus that weren't sure exactly what they wanted to do for God, but they figured it out along the way. And we tried to ask the question, what do they need and how can we meet that need through the hundreds of people who are faculty members here to help them get ready for that, such as there's a young man who's one of our alums named Matt Wallace, who came in saying, I want to do something for those who are on the street. And he wasn't sure, it didn't fit the typical church model. And then all of a sudden, this dream started coming alive, but it still wasn't set. And so we tried to prepare him as much as we could with financial help, how do you start businesses even. And what Matt has done is a ministry called Dry Bones, where he ministers to teenagers who live on the streets of Denver, Colorado. And one of the cool things about that is they started just meeting the kids on the street, but that has moved them to actually having a business called Purple Door. It's a coffee shop, one of the highest rated coffee shops in Denver, Colorado. It also has moved to another phase where they have actually bought some land and with a house on it that houses students who are coming off the street. And so you see the combination of all these things coming together. We didn't teach him everything he needed, but we tried to get him a great foundation, a great start to get there. So whatever your dreams are, we hope we can be flexible enough to help you find ways to reach those things that God has placed in your mind and your heart.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. Chelsea, for you, would love to know a little bit more about how the types of ministry you've gotten involved with as a student, or even that you know can be a part of. Some students have asked, what kind of things can I get involved in as a student on campus, leading worship or leading different ministries, if you don't mind just sharing a little bit.
I think that there are just a bunch of random things that you can try. I know my freshman year I did Young Life Abilene there was a college version, and so I did that and I loved it. I also know that there's ways that you can serve with like Try to Wake Kids and World's Backyard, which are service organizations where you get to help like lower income children and you get to play with them, but also teach them about Jesus and feed them a snack. I personally am involved in the Highland University ministry, so I go to Highland Church of Christ, and they have a great ministry that is set up with, just like I said earlier, a ton of leadership opportunities. So I am in charge of the small group chapels, which we have here on campus, and I get to help plan weekly lessons and weekly activities to do with students here on campus, and then I get to kind of interact again on a personal level with the minister, and so I think that small group chapels are a great way to get involved. As far as leading worship, there are tons of instances where students are encouraged and involved in leading worship, especially in chapels. I have actually sung a couple of times in chapel just as opportunities have come up, and so I have loved and been grateful for those.
That's awesome. Thank you, Chelsea. A question's come in, Robert, about minors in Bible. So some of you today maybe are thinking about, maybe you're going to major in business and accounting, but you're really interested in this idea of studying the Bible at length and maybe even pursuing that minor. So do you mind talking about the minor and how that works for students here?
Well, Tamara, the minor is really easy to accomplish at ACU because all of you will come in and take sometimes up to 15, 18 hours of Bible anyway, and all you're doing is adding in a few more classes to actually have a minor in Bible. And in a lot of your majors, you're going to also have some electives. And I know a lot of students use those electives to really hone in on an area, and it could be Bible or ministry or psychology, some of those areas that you really have an interest in, but you're not sure you want to major in it. So I think ACU and the degrees that we have here make it very easy to create that Bible minor.
Mm-hmm. No, that's awesome. That's very helpful. A couple questions have come in about different types of ministry. One about prison ministry, for example. So I can speak for the fact that, be it as a student or through some of the churches here in town, there's many different churches in this community that welcome our college students who have very much flourishing prison ministries and then student groups. And I can tell you, we have over 100 student groups and organizations. So if you have an interest, you're going to find your people and you're going to serve in that way. That's going to be very much a part of your time here at ACU. So another question coming in related for you, Robert, talking a little bit about GST, about how to get in touch with those faculty and how graduate school works. How do you prepare students for graduate school, and where are our students going on to graduate school?
Typically, in any given year, we'll have about 15% of our majors from the Bible department go into the GST. And then there are other students who go through here as maybe a psychology major or a communications major and then decide, I really want to go into the graduate school of theology. So they will enter into that. Sometimes the Bible undergrad major will help them be a little better prepared. You may have to take a few extra classes if you went into another major, but for the most part, anyone is welcome to go into the Graduate School of Theology. And hopefully as undergrads in Bible, you have a great foundation laid down already to do that.
No, that's awesome. We've also had some questions about scholarships. ACU definitely has great scholarships for students when they're admitted to the university. So those of you that are rising seniors, you're just finishing your junior year, the application for ACU is going to open up July the 1st. We can't wait for you to apply and want you to know that you will have the opportunity to receive a scholarship based on your application to ACU, which will include your high school transcript. That's a major factor in understanding your academic abilities. And then, as you might have learned, the test is optional, the ACT, SAT, or the CLT. Any three of those tests we utilize for admission and scholarship purposes, but they are not required this year. They are optional. If you do want to be considered for the most prestigious scholarship, your test score is needed, and that's our presidential scholarship. But also for majors, there are different scholarships for majors, and Bible students do have the opportunity for scholarships as well. So I'll let Robert kind of talk a little bit about the Bible scholarship and how that works.
We have some additional scholarships that we didn't have a few years ago in the Bible department specifically. And so if you'll go to our website, there is a link that will have a scholarship link, and you actually apply for it online. So all of you folks who are going to be coming to us soon, make sure and fill that out, and we will be back in touch with you to let you know whether you receive that or not. But sometimes it's several thousands of dollars of a difference maker. Mm-hmm. And we hope that will help you and your family afford to come be with us. And we're just trying to get everybody who wants to be here. We're going to do our best to get you here.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Another question I think is really important, and Robert, this one's for you too, is how often do our Bible graduates, so majors and Bible graduates, find themselves employed outside of organizations affiliated with the Churches of Christ? I know it's significant, but I think really speaking to that would be helpful.
Sure. Our student body obviously has changed through the years, and so we have more people from a different variety of denominational backgrounds. Because of that, whether it be internships that you apply for, we're having more and more churches who are not from the Churches of Christ coming in to interview our students. Because of that, they have found out we're here, and they're starting to call us and saying, hey, do you have a student who would be a good children's minister, youth minister? And so we're starting to become one of those places that we have a lot of tentacles out there, and we have a great network of a lot of churches outside Churches of Christ. And so I think it's going to get better and better across time to help you, once again, in placement and other things like that. And I have seen at least 3 different students placed in the last year or so who are not going to Church of Christ schools or churches.
No, that's excellent. Yeah, and our students go on into all types of ministry, not necessarily just church ministry. So working in the nonprofit sectors is definitely a common output of the college here of biblical studies. So another question for you, Robert, and then I'm going to pivot back to Chelsea, I promise. But these questions have been very specific to you. Can you talk a little bit about the centers that we have here at ACU that are supporting all of our students, but that I think uniquely our Bible majors get to have a different interaction with the centers that are founded and grounded in our College of Biblical Studies?
We have several different centers, and the centers are what I'd call the tool to reach out and continue to reach out to our students as they go out into ministry. We have a center for women, and especially in ministry, and so that's very helpful in supporting them. We have the center I do, Center for Youth and Family Ministry. We have another one on racial reconciliation that one of our African American professors, Jerry Taylor, is in charge of, and that just started, which obviously is a timely center to have going on. There's also an organization here that's a center called the Cyber Institute, in which we are trying to be supportive of ministers everywhere. And it doesn't matter whether you're the senior pastor, youth minister, children's minister, we are here to help you, not only in things like understanding what a good salary range, and we do research every single year to help everyone understand here's what someone should be making in your unique ministry position. We also have things like, I'm in charge of a retreat for ministry couples, and they get to come on a weekend retreat. There's no charge, and we pay for everything. And we are there simply to love on them, encourage them. Some of them had been fired, some of them had been beaten up by their time in ministry or discouraged, and we're there just to love on them and hopefully help them continue in ministry long term. And that's, once again, has no cost involved with it at all, just to tell them we love you and we care about you long past that graduation stage.
Excellent. Thanks, Robert. Chelsea, I think it would be awesome if you could talk to the students just about a typical class. And you talked about your favorite class, and you talked about how you can't really just name one favorite class in the department. But I think telling us a little bit more about what the typical class is like being a Bible major, and the size, the setting, and just what it's like being a Bible student.
So I think it kind of depends on what type of class it is. So the ones that I've primarily taken are either text classes about, different portions of the Bible, or over specific things in ministry. And I think the cool thing about the classes here is that each class really is shaped uniquely around that professor. So we have professors who will always make sure to do a prayer at the beginning and take up prayer requests. And not only that, follow up next week and see how those things are going. We have professors who really emphasize spiritual disciplines, and so ask us to practice them outside of class as homework. And then as far as actual content goes, we have usually a mixture of just lectures where we just get to listen to the wisdom of our faculty, or we have discussions. And I think those are so cool because we are given material to either read outside of class or just kind of be familiar on, and then we get to be in class and we get to discuss it, and we get to kind of hear where everyone is coming from, like Robert was saying, and see the different backgrounds that are being brought into the room, and then learn from each other how we can better read the Bible and better use that for our ministry.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, the average classroom size at ACU is about 26 students. Our faculty to student ratio ranges right around 14 to 15 to 1. And so we really are a teaching focused campus. So there is a lot of community built in our classroom spaces. And as Chelsea noted, that's a unique dynamic between those faculty members. And so you really get to know your faculty on a very personal level. And we're very vested in you, the students, developing you individually and uniquely. So more than anything, students, we want you to come visit us on campus. We want you to come see the beautiful Bible building that we have for our students, and also our campus, and get a sense for our community, see how we worship together in chapel, see how we gather, see the leadership opportunities, meet some of the various faculty. That is your best way to get to know us better, is by spending time with us on campus. And we hope we've answered most of your questions today. We know we might have left a few of them unanswered, and we'll do our best to follow follow up with your individual questions. But we're so grateful for you taking the time to be with us today on campus virtually, and we hope that you will join us back in person as we begin hosting visitors in the future. Thank you, and we hope you have a wonderful week.